All right, guys, so in a continuation of the drama surrounding Marjorie Taylor Greene getting basically kicked off of social media, censored on Twitter, I think Facebook has also censored her as well for some comments that she made that they didn't like. We have Maxine Waters chiming in on what's going on, and the reason why is because Marjorie Taylor Greene, in one of her statements about her suspension, she basically says that, hey, you know, I'm being suspended for, you know, my free speech, and people like Maxine Waters never face any consequences when they openly call for violence. They are never punished for actual calls to violence. Now, Maxine Waters responded to this with Al Sharpton, and during this interview, Al Sharpton essentially opens up the questioning for Maxine Waters with the false statement implying that Maxine Waters has never called for violence. Take a look.
Although they occasionally face consequences. Now, Twitter has permanently suspended the personal account of Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene over what the company says was repeated violations of their COVID-19 misinformation policy. And she immediately tried to drag you into the situation by mentioning your name at the top of her statement, writing, quote, Maxine Waters can go to the streets and threaten violence on Twitter. I mean, first of all, anybody that has known you for decades, and I've worked with you for decades all over the country, we've never on Twitter or nowhere else heard you do anything but call for justice, never even remotely call for violence, never even remotely call for violence.
Never even remotely call for violence.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere. The people are going to turn on them. They're going to protest. They're going to absolutely harass them until they decide that they're going to tell the president, no, I can't hang with you.
Not in D.C., not in the U.S., not in D.C., not in the U.S., not in D.C., not in the U.S.
Oh, what a moving evening this is. I am sitting here listening, watching, absorbing, thinking about Ali, even though I never met him. And with this kind of inspiration, I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Ms. Congresswoman, what happens if we do not get what you just told? What should the people do? What should protesters on the street do?
I didn't hear you.
What happens?
What should protesters do?
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
But how do you respond to, you always one of the go-to names when they try to defend themselves for their misdeeds?
Well, let me just say this. When you talk about Congresswoman Greene, you're talking about the kind of extremist radical that is now in the House of Representatives, who is basically, dangerous. She's dangerous because she doesn't believe in the Constitution herself. She has been threatening, other members of Congress. They have been all over and in the face of AOC out of New York, following her around, trying to intimidate her. She has not believed that little children that got killed in school by, a murderer who invaded their school, it actually happened. She denies it. And so this woman is not only radical, I think that she does not have good sense, period. She has no business in the House of Representatives. She loves guns. She wanted to bring her gun into the House of Representatives. And I think if she stays around, she's going to create some really difficult problems for us who are trying to serve in the House. So I don't care what they say about me. You're absolutely right. I'm a target of the right. I called out this president. I warned this country that this man was dangerous and that he did not believe in the Constitution. Yeah. He did not care about the democracy. He was aligned with Putin and Kim Jong-un. He loved the way these dictators rule their countries, and that's what he wants to do. I said it over and over again that he was a threat to our democracy. So some people are just catching up with that, but we had better know that if we don't stop him, he's going to continue because he's intent on overthrowing the constitutional government because he wants to rule like a dictator.
Bruh, there's just so much to respond to there, right? There's just so much to say because there's just a whole lot of BS in the things that Maxine Waters is saying. I mean, first and foremost, again, the elephant in the room. Al Sharpton opening up the question about Marjorie Taylor Greene, right, invoking Maxine Waters by saying, hey, you've never called for violence. The only thing you've ever done is call for justice. When there's clear video footage and evidence out there of Maxine Waters calling for violence, flat out saying, no, you should harass Trump officials, Trump administration officials, in order to get them to enact policies that Maxine Waters wants. And literally, people acted based off the things that she was saying, right? She was talking about getting confrontational with Trump administration officials, getting in people's faces. She talked about taking Trump out, okay? She talked about getting more confrontational if they don't get what they want in regards to the criminal justice system, which in my opinion was her attempt to sway the outcome of a trial, to intimidate the jury, okay? Potentially putting police officers' lives in danger because if they didn't get the outcome that they want, who are they going to get confrontational with? They're going to get confrontational with police officers, okay? So all this rhetoric that she's put out there in the world, right, that in my opinion seems like call to violence, or at the very least could be interpreted that way. If you're interpreting anything that Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene has said as a call to violence, I can definitely say Maxine Waters has done that, right? If you want to use that standard, Maxine Waters has done that. Again, it's the pot calling the kettle black. And Al Sharpton, because he carries water for Maxine Waters and he's not objective at all, he has his biases, he goes out here and he basically just flat out lies to his audience. Just lies right in front of their face. As if there's not receipts right there. Okay? But in regards to the rest of the interview and Maxine Waters and her beefs with Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, Maxine Waters and other Democrats like her calling for Marjorie Taylor Greene to be expelled from Congress, to be removed from Congress, saying that she shouldn't be in Congress. Again, this is the danger that I'm talking about, right? This is the systemic censorship that we're saying, that I've been talking to you guys about basically every day now, right, for the past week. Because you have a governor official, somebody like Maxine Waters, who is a powerful Congresswoman. Okay, she's powerful. She's not no pushover or anything like that. She actually has real power. When she goes out here and calls for another sitting Congress member to be removed for her constitutionally protected speech, that's more than just, oh, that's consequence culture. No. That is a direct attack on free speech, okay? Because half the things they complain about with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and again, I understand Marjorie Taylor Greene is a controversial figure. I get it. Everybody does not agree with her politics. I 100% understand. I get it. But she has a constitutional right to freedom of speech, just like everybody else in this country. Again, you might not necessarily agree with that speech, but she has a constitutional right to free speech. Most of the things they complain about when it comes to Marjorie Taylor Greene are things that she said before she got in Congress. Now, those things that she said before she got in Congress, I don't agree with a lot of that stuff, okay? But regardless of whether or not you agree with it, her district elected her, right? They elected her knowing that those are the things that she said, and she became a Congresswoman anyways, right? And instead of respecting what her district decided, right, the best person to represent them, the Democrats have actively tried to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene from Congress and strip her of her committee assignments simply for her constitutionally protected speech. Now, this is the government acting on this, okay? Again, remember, the people on the left, they always say, well, your free speech is not under attack because the government's not punishing you for your free speech. Well, what is happening right now with Marjorie Taylor Greene? The government is literally punishing her for her constitutionally protected speech. That's what's happening. Again, the Democrats are doing this regardless of what her constituents have voted for. So these are the same people that will go out and tell you, democracy's under attack, democracy's under attack. But yet, they don't give a damn about democracy when it came to Marjorie Taylor Greene and what her constituents want. Her constituents elected her to be in Congress. They knew about all the things that she said, right? Everybody already knew about it. And she still got elected. Democrats said, oh no, F that. We don't care about what you think. We don't care about democracy. We want to remove her anyways. But again, these are the same people that say we care about democracy so much. When obviously democracy doesn't matter when it comes to trying to remove people from Congress that you don't agree with, right? That have opinions that they don't like. Again, this is why this whole democracy talk from the Democrats is a joke. It's a joke. The real threat to democracy is what's going on with the systemic censorship that we're currently seeing in this country. That is the real threat to democracy. Not the conspiracy theories that these Democrats keep putting out here about Trump, about January 6th, because, I mean, honestly, it's not even working. Nobody's buying that, right? Nobody's buying the idea that Trump wants to be some dictator, right? And that he's actively plotting to overthrow the government. Nobody's buying that, right? Because if Trump actually wanted to be a dictator, he just would have stayed in office. He would say, I refuse to leave office, right? When January 20th came, when it came time for him to leave, he left, right? He left. That's not what dictators do. They stay. So I'm not buying it, right? I'm not buying it. I don't think anybody else is buying it because the Democrats are projected to get blown out in 2022. And that's why they keep going up here screaming and hollering, talking about democracy's under attack. If the GOP wins, democracy's over, blah, 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 even though it is required for people to actually go out and vote in order for the GOP to actually win, right? People have to vote. In order for the Democrats to win, people have to vote. So again, I don't understand this so-called threat to democracy. I really don't understand. I don't get it, right? I really don't. But again, you know, I want people to understand when it comes to the whole Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, you don't have to agree with what she says, okay? It's okay if you disagree with her. However, the principle here is what everybody should be concerned about, whether you are on the left or the right. Because the principle here is that this person is being punished for constitutionally protected speech. You have Congress women, right? People in Congress actively trying to remove people from Congress for their free speech. And I would not do that even for somebody that I don't agree with. For example, Maxine Waters. Would I want her to be removed from Congress for the things that she said? Probably not, okay? Because although I think that what she said, you know, probably is a call to violence, there's an argument to be made that, hey, you know what? Maybe it was metaphorical, right? There's an argument to be made that it is political speech. It's protected political speech. There's an argument made for that. So maybe she should have been censured, but I would want her removed. And again, the reason why is because I'm actually principled on this matter. I'm not just trying to play for a team. I know how the pendulum swings the other way on this stuff. But the Democrats obviously don't care. They don't care. And with that being said, I think that if Republicans take back the House in 2022, even though I disagree with it in principle, I think it might be necessary in order to actually show the Democrats that, hey, this is not the road that you want to go down. They should probably censure Maxine Waters, right? For the comments that she said in the past, right? Censure her. No, you called for violence in the past, and since you guys have set the precedent that caused the violence are worth censuring and removing people from their committee assignments. Matter of fact, we'll go ahead and remove you from your committee assignment as well, too. We'll put that up for a vote. That's exactly what the Republicans should do. That way, it'll show the Democrats that, no, this is not the road that you want to go down. This is not something that we should be doing, right? So, you know, like I said, man, I just find it hilarious how Al Sharpton can come up here on national TV and lie to his audience and say that Maxine Waters has never called for violence. When, again, there's receipts out there that actively show that. And then the Democrats also want to cry about democracy all day. But when it comes to Marjorie Taylor Greene and the fact that her constituents elected her to be a representative there, all of a sudden, democracy goes out the window. We have to remove her for her constitutionally protected speech, despite what the American citizens have voted for. Yeah, I find it fascinating how that works. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.